welcome to Served Up. This podcast is where hospitality meets leadership and where we take an honest look at the business of beverage. I'm Bridget Albert. I've spent my career building cocktail programs, mentoring rising talent, judging competitions, and advocating for women in our industry. I'm joined by my co-host, Eric Heemer, one of only 5 people in the world to hold both the Master Sommelier and Master of Wine titles. His depth of knowledge and global perspective brings tremendous insight to every conversation. This is Served Up.
Welcome to Served Up. Today, Bridget and I are hanging out with Keith Blauschild, certified executive chef and graduate of the prestigious Culinary Institute of America. Chef Keith has 35 years of experience in the hotel and restaurant industry. He's held executive chef positions in a variety of top South Florida kitchens, and in 2006, he founded Parkland Chef Catering with his wife and business partner, Dina Lowell. In 2014, they expanded their business to include a restaurant, The Cook and the Cork. The restaurant has earned the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence every year since 2015 and is a multi-year recipient of the Dorona Fine Dining Award. Today, we talk with Chef Keith about his background, his passion for both culinary and the fascinating world of wine, among other topics. So, pour yourself a glass of wine or sake if you like, relax and enjoy the conversation. Cheers. Hey, Keith. Welcome to Served Up. It's great to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be with you guys today.
Well, thank you. So we're going to jump right in. You're a multifaceted individual, as our listeners are going to find out. But we'd like to take you right back to the beginning and tell us a little bit about your background. We want to know where you grew up, what you wanted to be when you grew up. Full disclosure, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. That didn't work out too well. And how you got into the restaurant world.
I grew up in northern New Jersey, and how I got in the restaurant world was I really didn't know what I wanted to be. And I started working in restaurants in high school, started from a dishwasher, and then you start to learn to cook a few things, prep for the line cooks. And at the time, my parents said, if you're going to do this, you're not going to just graduate high school and keep working in restaurants unless you go to the Culinary Institute of America, which happened to be not too far from northern Jersey. It's in upstate New York, Hyde Park, New York. So it happened to be, at that time, one of the only culinary schools. Now, there's so many of them. There were only a handful back then. But I believe, not just because I graduated from there and I'm on the alumni board of the school, that it is the best. It's a different experience to learn food, beverage, and hospitality.
Yeah, that's interesting. And no pressure, from your parents, right? You're washing dishes and thinking about getting into the CIA at the same time. It could be a little bit daunting.
I think they might have said that they realize I'm not going to be a doctor or a lawyer. So maybe a chef's a great job for you if you enjoy it. And I haven't worked a day in my life, I feel. I enjoy what I do.
That's great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so you mentioned a little bit about the CIA and being in Hyde Park, but tell us a little bit more about what it's like as a student to go to the CIA and walking into those hallowed halls. I had the experience in October myself of visiting the Hyde Park campus for the first time, and it's, a little bit like walking into, Harvard Yard, I think, from a culinary perspective. But give us a little bit more of an insider's view on what it's like to go to the CIA.
It's definitely an Ivy League institution for hospitality. The amount of resources that a student will have there, the amount of chefs, master chefs, the education. At the time I was 18 and the drinking age was 21 in New York State and New Jersey. At CIA, they waived that with, I guess, the governor. They got permission at 18. I was able to taste wine with food and take wine education courses and taste. It was part of the program, which really started my appreciation and love for that beverage. And when you're 18, you drink quite a bit of beer. So I think in my wine class at the time, being 18, not knowing so much about appellations, and I still know very little, but love to learn every day. It was very difficult. So I think the instructor, Michael Weiss, at the time, he said, your final report could be on beer because you seem to know better. Why don't you study German purity laws, and you'll pass the class if you do a report on beer, because wine, I think you need a little more practice.
That's great. So you had to write all about Reinheitsgebot, one of my favorite laws in the world. Very cool.
That's amazing. So, how did you wind up in Florida?
My parents moved right at the time I was going to CIA. So after they were down here, I did my externship where you leave CIA for, I think it was maybe 5 months, and work in a restaurant. I worked at Turnberry Island Yacht Club in Miami,
Mm.
and they didn't have housing, so I could stay with my parents and travel to work. So they were down here. I worked in that restaurant, made a few, or yacht club restaurant, made friends, connections down here, and then eventually came down about a year or so after I graduated.
Very cool. And then how did you meet your wife, Dina? She's your business partner and lifelong partner. We need to give her her flowers today, too.
That's an interesting story. I was working for a caterer in Florida, and they hired someone new for sales, and it happened to be Dina.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, I didn't know she was being hired there, but Dina and I had known each other since we were 14 years old, or I was
You're
14 years old. She
kidding.
was a little bit older, and our parents worked together, Madison Square Garden, and the rest is history, I guess.
Wow. So you're childhood friends.
Yes.
That's incredible. My husband and I have a picture of him, and he's 4 years old and I'm 3 years old. And there's a big story behind that. So I feel you. Yeah, that's amazing. That's so great. What was your first experience as an executive chef? Like, where's that first spot that you had that position? And what was that moment like for you when you were hired?
I don't know if I was the youngest, but I was definitely one of the youngest executive chefs on Miami Beach. It was the Doral. I was at the Doral Country Club as executive sous chef, and then I got promoted to the Doral Beach property as executive chef. And I believe I was 21 or 22 at the time. So there were no cell phones back
You
then,
were
really.
so young. Hang on.
So,
Hang on, Kate. That's incredible. You're a pup and you're 21 years old as an executive chef. You need to explain to the folks here that that's not the norm.
no,
No.
it would normally be in your 30s where
Yeah.
that would happen. But I got a lucky break and got promoted, and they didn't have cell phones
Amazing.
back then. So, just to have a cordless phone that was in your office and you could walk out in the kitchen and still call in your orders, or it was like a new life. I loved being executive chef at that young age. And it was the time when South Beach Food and Wine Festival was first getting started,
Mm.
with before it developed into what it was now. I was
Wow, the
I,
energy and the vibe, it must have been something else. When you're back in the kitchen and you have this executive chef position at such a young age, how did others perceive you?
that's I was just thinking that it's like you could read my mind. I would be in the kitchen, and even though my jacket said executive chef, they don't look at that right away when a salesperson comes in. And they said, "Excuse me, can you get the chef for me?" Yeah, 1 second. I am the chef.
That's
Mm.
pretty funny. You must have had some curmudgeonly old co-workers that weren't too happy with this young
Yeah.
whippersnapper telling them what to do. Yeah, well, obviously you grew into the position very quickly. And I would just want to circle back to you and Dina, your love story. So since you met when you were 14, obviously in New Jersey, and had you not seen each other until she was hired in Florida?
I would say probably not. We were both married to other people.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, my parents went to her first wedding. I didn't go. And her parents went to my first wedding. She
Oh
didn't
my
go.
gosh.
So we really didn't see each other too much over those early years.
And did you recognize her when she walked in and said, "Hey, I'm your new salesperson"?
I did, because maybe once or twice we were at events that our parents had, a barbecue or something, and we've seen each other, but
Oh, wow.
It was definitely surprising.
That's destiny. That's kismet. You were meant to be together. The
Yeah.
stars, the cosmos aligned on that one. That's amazing.
Does your parents, do they talk about that with you? Like, oh my gosh, your wedding was so much better. Or they
No,
just
they didn't
were
mention.
so happy.
Oh my goodness. So let
Amazing.
so let's jump ahead a little bit from your first executive chef position. In 2006, you started your own catering business, which has been extremely successful. And you probably didn't need to do anything else but run a catering business. So what led you to open a restaurant as well?
The catering business needed a kitchen, and we were in different kitchens, renting space, or even one country club. I was the food and beverage director, and I didn't get a salary. I got to use their kitchen,
Uh,
and I got a percentage of what we booked and catered in house. We could use their ballroom. They got a percentage. I got a percentage, and then I got off premise catering and gave them a percentage. And it was great being in someone else's house, but we wanted to have our own kitchen. And when you think about it, if I'm running a restaurant for this country club, maybe I should just run my own restaurant and run the catering out of there. So we developed the cook and court, figured we'd open 4 nights a week, dinner only, so we can use the kitchen for catering and still get some revenue from dinner. And why not give it a shot? Since we opened, we got the two awards, the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence and the Dirona Fine Dining Award of North America, even though it's not fine dining. It's pretty high quality food, but it's very casual. No candelabras, no white tablecloths. Definitely not fine dining.
Wow.
no snooty sommeliers with tastavans around their necks.
The Sam is the chef that comes out of the kitchen and talks wine and beverage and sake and beer with you.
Yeah, you just segued nicely into my next topic, which was most chefs, to your point, stay in the kitchen, but you're both the chef and the sommelier at the Cook and the Cork. And I know you initially picked up your interest in wine back at the CIA with Professor Weiss, but tell us how that progressed over the years when you were going through your different executive chef roles. Were you still keeping up with the world of wine, or did that really start to blossom again when you opened your own restaurant? Tell us about that journey back into wine.
I think I fell in love with wine at the CIA, even though it was a hard course and a lot to study when it's a new subject. It's been a lifelong journey to not learn for the knowledge of getting certified as a SOM, introductory level one, which maybe I should someday, but just for my own knowledge and love of the beverage for myself, I did it. And it definitely helps when you have to talk to customers and have your own restaurant and do the wine purchasing and know how to really get the best selection of not just wine, but we have sake beer. We just added cocktails, but just knowing what to get for your own restaurant really, that's when it really helped me.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's amazing. Can you tell us about your cuisine and how you decide what goes with your menu?
The cuisine, we're labeled an American restaurant, but it's really global. We have you think about Mexican food, like one famous dish is tacos al pastor with pork and pineapple and achiote and ancho chilies. We do a pork chop that way, so it's not a taco; it's a pork chop. We have pierogies on the menu. We pasta bolognese. So there's something from Italy, something from Poland, something from Mexico. We have some couple good Asian dishes, which we do have a good sake selection, which not only goes with the Asian dishes, you pair some of the sakes with pasta bolognese and Reggiano.
Hmm.
It's kind of even a better pairing than a Sangiovese sometimes.
Yeah, it's amazing. You must find just a lot of really cool pairings because you're very passionate, about that.
I do, and it's great. We have a great by the glass program, so we could recommend different wines with different dishes, and it's. I think we've added cocktails, which is to me a tough thing to pair
It
with,
is.
with dishes. It's a fun
Mm-hmm.
thing to drink, and I think Mexican food and margaritas they do go very well together. But
Yeah.
but there's so many cocktails that'll overpower a mild dish that
Yeah.
that we do cocktails, but I really thrive on pairing the wine, sake, and beer.
Yeah, there's a nuance to pairing cocktails with food. And I do think a lot of it has to do with the proof, as well, of cocktails versus a wine or a sake or a beer. When you're looking at something that could light your world on fire, you have to be careful, right?
And then I think cocktails, a lot of times you're adding a sweet component, an acid component, bitters.
Umami. I mean,
That's so many tricky things to go with simple dishes where the old pairing selection, if it grows together, it goes together. So you look
yeah,
at the global food, and pierogies, they go well with beer.
they sure do.
The the Korean sparrows we do, they go very well with sake. So
Yeah.
maybe it's a simple way to approach it, and cocktails are a little too complex to approach it for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, there's a way to do it, but yeah, I mean, it's not as straightforward, right? As you said.
Sure.
Hmm.
So, Keith, you've mentioned sake a couple of times, and I know you have a real passion for sake as well as wine and beer. But tell us where that love of sake came from. Was that going back to the CIA days, or did that come later?
There was a little bit of sake education at CIA, but after I graduated, I was lucky enough to spend about a month in Japan training with a master ice sculptor. And
Okay.
when I was over there, I really got introduced to sakes and some Japanese whiskeys, which I really didn't like at the time. Now I can appreciate them more. But being that young, it was just a harsh drink. They chip off a piece of ice and pour whiskey in a glass, and I would drink it just to get it down fast. And they'd look at me like, "You're supposed to sip that." But the sake I really appreciated when I was over there.
Yeah, I think people that don't know a whole lot about sake always assume that it's this rather inexpensive stuff that you serve warmed up in Asian restaurants. But once you start to discover all the different types and the different varieties of rice that go into it and the different water sources and water pH and all the interesting things that go along with sake, plus the history going back thousands of years in Japan and Korea, it opens up a whole new world. It's as complex as wine is, and it's just as fun to pair with food. You mentioned your Korean ribs pairing with sake. What else do you personally like to pair with sake?
I do like Italian food and sake. I think a lot of the harder cheeses, the Reggianos, the Pecorinos, they go well with the Daiginjo's great sake with Parmesan.
Yeah, that's interesting. The umami flavors probably work very well together. Umami, for those of you that might not be familiar with the Japanese term, can sort of be described as a savory component, like miso broth, or what else is umami, Keith?
Mushrooms are high in
Mushrooms.
umami,
Right.
but Parmesan cheese is high in umami.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
that's a classic example.
Yeah, that's
That's
great.
great. I have not heard ever a sake and cheese pairing in my life. That is,
There
you just blew my mind.
You heard it here first on Served Up, people.
I really did. I've never heard of such a thing. It's amazing.
I love it. I think that's one of the best pairings.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Something that I think that's really, really key to any establishment when you're talking about hospitality is really like setting that stage, setting the vibe of the place before you even talk about food or wine or beer or anything else. When people walk in, when your guests walk in, what type of music is inspiring your creativity as a chef and a sommelier, and what's playing in the background at your restaurant?
For me, I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan, so
Me too. Me too.
which actually I actually did an ice sculpture for Jimmy Page. And I can see it, but
Wow.
um, when I met him and did the ice sculpture, I showed him a Zeppelin tattoo I had, and he signed underneath with a small Sharpie, and I had gotten it filled in with tattoo ink after that. So that's a crazy Zeppelin fan.
Man, you're so cool. How you just like butter smooth over here. Let me just tell you, you can't just drop in like, and when I met Jimmy Page and not tell us about that. I've not met Jimmy Page. I hope to.
I've actually met him
What
a
was he
couple
like?
times.
How did that happen? He signed your arm. Amazing. What was that situation?
Yeah, I didn't really talk to him that much. I mean, it was a charity event, so I couldn't really hang out with him, but I did thank him for my appreciation of the music and showed him I've had this tattoo for a long time. And he really didn't want to be bothered with autographs. It was at his table. And when I came over, his manager, they looked at me like, don't bother Jimmy Page. But his manager said that's Keith. He did the ice carving for you and he did the sculpture. So, and when I explained it, I said, Jimmy, I'm not going to sell this on eBay. If anyone gets anything to sign today and sells it on eBay, you won't see this. So he
Oh
was
my.
very happy about that.
And what was that moment like for you? Did you just like freak out? What'd you do? Were you able to you played it cool. You were like butter, weren't you? You're like, "Hey, Jimmy." You
Yeah,
just
I
like
think I was
nonchalant.
okay by then. But the my other rock and roll claim to fame, I also got a chance to do an ice sculpture for the Rolling Stones
Oh, you're
backstage when they
killing
were in
me.
Miami.
That's
And
amazing.
the caterer that catered the food, they were they were scrambling to get the food out. I wouldn't say they were behind, but I dropped off the ice. They thanked me. I said, "Do you need help putting this out?" So I helped them put out the dinner, and they said, "Well, why don't you stay have dinner with the Rolling Stones and their whole
Wow.
crew?"
Oh my
And
God.
I wasn't at that table, but the next table over was Bo Diddley, Sheryl Crow. A couple of Stones are at other tables next to us, and then it was surreal. And what's interesting about that, the wines on the table.
Yeah.
Every table was set with, I can't remember the brands, but they were very high end fine wines
Did you
at
even
the Stones
eat?
table. I
Like,
didn't
able
eat,
to eat?
and the quality of the wine was so good that I probably guzzled a lot of it and had no feeling of effect. It was just a very surreal. And then it got even better because after they all left, they rehearsed and I went out backstage, like stepped around to where the seats are and looked, and I was watching, and the caterer came up to me again, one of the chefs, and said, "What are you doing up here?" I thought he's going to say, "You got to go." He said, "We're
Mhm.
all going down to the field and sit in front of the stage and watch the show from down there."
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Hell
wow.
yeah.
And then the
Wow.
next day, they also gave me great tickets to the show. So it was,
That's amazing. I
and,
love your
and the
journey
funny
for
thing is,
you.
there's wine in that story too.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
that is so great. I have to ask you, what's your favorite Zeppelin song?
It's so hard. Physical Graffiti is my favorite album because there's so
Great
many
album.
great. It's just so many songs on that album. I don't know if I could pick a favorite song. It's
Oh
tough.
my gosh. So
How
when
about
I come,
yours?
probably the Rain song is one of
Yeah,
my
it's
favorites.
a beautiful song.
It just puts me in a mood. Especially if I'm having a rough time or like, a hard day, I'll play it on repeat so loud you can't think. And it's just something about it. I know there's not a ton of lyrics in it, but the melody, it just grabs me every time.
Robert Plant's actually touring right now, and some sets he plays the Rain song,
You're
and
kidding.
it's incredible.
Yeah, see, I've not seen him live, and I would like to do that. I've seen John Bonham, but would like to do that. Yeah,
Jason,
Jason Bonham's, John
yeah,
Bonham's kid. I saw
yeah,
him just a couple years ago that did a whole tribute to his dad, and it was really cool. But
yeah. It's a
that's
great
the closest
concert.
that I have gotten to Zeppelin. But yeah, amazing. I can't wait to come to your restaurant and your Zeppelin and eat good food and drink good wine. Oh,
Sounds fun.
sounds like a dream.
So, Keith, every once in a while, I know you and Dina get some time to yourselves and are off at night. So, when you're not working, what do you like to eat? Do you cook at home? You dine out? What's your night off regime, if you have one?
I do cook at home, and I like that because I have a great garden with a lot of herbs, and we grow some pretty cool black tomatoes and so many different types of produce I can't buy from a produce distributor because it's heirloom and not that big producing for commercial sale. So I find it fun to cook at home. Occasionally we go out, but then it's just to me, I work in a restaurant. I want to be
Yeah.
home.
Right. I can certainly understand that feeling. It's funny, yesterday Bridget and I were talking about gardens, and she grows a lot of flowers, and I have a vegetable garden out back, and I usually grow tomatoes every year. But what's the secret? What's your secret to growing tomatoes and keeping them fungus free? Any specific things that you do?
I would definitely say it's the time of year.
Yeah.
It's you really have to have a cooler season. They're actually growing pretty good right now, but when it's hot, that's when it's hot and humid and rainy, and that's when you get fungus and pests. And little cooler, little drier weather.
There you go. Do you use any type of organic spray or anything? Any sulfur sprays or anything like that?
Neem oil
Yeah.
sometimes, and then I have a small composter, so we make our own compost, which helps feed them.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that you're growing year round? What can you do year round here?
Some of the herbs are year round, and especially I grow my own bay leaf, so I have a bay
Mm.
leaf tree, and a bay rum is like a bay leaf. It's a cousin, but it's more floral. It's actually, I think, one of the ingredients in Old Spice cologne. So it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
very strong floral leaf, but it's kind of good in desserts. It's lemony, herbaceous, floral.
Yes. Yeah, there actually is a men's cologne called Bay Rum. I've seen it's kind of an old timey cologne, but it does exist. So
It would probably be good in cocktails too.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And lemongrass I have, we bring that to work all the time, and they use it in cocktails. Kaffir lime leaves we use in cocktails.
Very
Nice.
interesting. Hey, I want to circle back real quick and just ask you one more question about the CAA. I know there's a couple of different programs. You can go for a full 4-year degree, and tell us about those programs really quickly, if you don't mind.
When I went, there was only the associate's degree, so it was a 2-year program. Now they have a bachelor's, and they just recently added a master's.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know that. So if somebody wants to go and become a chef, they can do the 2-year associate's program, or is there a big difference in the curriculum between the 2 and 4-year programs? Do you know?
Definitely. And it's not only more intense and more in depth, there's different concentrations. So when you go to the 4-year, you could have a chef background, but totally do wine. Wine's one of the focus. You could do Asian food as a focus, food science as a focus, and a lot of the farm to table is another one where they actually go
Oh.
to California and work on a farm that's across from the California campus. It's actually on Krug's property.
Mm.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. I did not know that. It's a beautiful place. I'd be hard pressed to choose between Hyde Park and Napa Valley. I think a lot of people might go for Napa Valley, but there's just something about being right on the Hudson River and Hyde Park that's so alluring as well.
It's definitely the mothership of campuses. There's also a Texas campus in San Antonio and a Singapore campus, which a lot of people don't know. And that's somewhere you could visit in your Asian concentration if you're bachelor's in Asian cuisine.
Very interesting. So I know that you and Dina are big pizza lovers because I've eaten pizza with the two of you before.
We
What's
do go
your
out for
favorite?
pizza.
What's your favorite pizza place? Do you have one favorite place?
They're all so different and different styles. I would say Joe's Pizza in New York on 14th Street is probably one of my favorite for New York slice. In I think it was Portland. It was in Oregon. There's a place that does a sourdough pizza. Pizza Shoals was a great pizza. That's so different, not really even Neapolitan style. It was just a great flavor. And then we did go to Italy and went to a church fair where they were cooking pizzas over olive wood and wood burning oven. And that was probably, I would say, the best pizza I did ever have.
Okay,
It
well,
lived up to the hype.
that would make sense. Going to the home of pizza, the origins of pizza. That's must have
Mhm.
been quite an experience. So, on the same lines, what's the best dining experience you've had here in America? And I know you've been all over the country, but if there's one meal that really sticks out in your mind, what would it be?
I would say I've been to a few 3 Michelin star restaurants, and I really don't like a lot of that food. It was too almost gimmicky. And one place served a dish with snail eggs with caviar from snails, and they looked like little white pearls,
Hmm.
but they kind of were rubbery and tasted like dirt. So I could appreciate the visual, but I really didn't enjoy the food. But I would say French Laundry is 100% worth the hype. A 3 Michelin star restaurant. What Thomas Keller does, he has his music. He's playing the Eagles out there, and it's not stuffy at all. It's very, very casual, down to earth, but still, that's fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
And his food was absolutely incredible. You can get a wine pairing there that is so curated. I got a chance to tour the kitchen and walk through the wine cellar, where I think they were maybe 2016s or older, but a couple Domaine Romanicantes there that Dina just said, don't even look at it. Don't go near the bottle. Don't get close to it. Look away. Don't.
Wow, step back.
So I don't knock it over.
Right.
That's
But
incredible.
it was a fun experience. It was probably the best dining experience of my life.
Wow.
And it was
Did you know-
Dina's birthday, so that was great.
That's cool. That on those same lines, did you know that Thomas Keller has Palm Beach County roots?
Yes, from the yacht club.
Yeah, the yacht club, and then he had a little restaurant on 45th Street next to the High Life Fronton, which I was near when I was a teenager, and was very interesting. From
I didn't know about the
Humboldt.
restaurant, but I know the yacht club days,
Yeah.
or know of it.
And rumor has it he's coming back to the Palm Beaches now too, with a new restaurant in West Palm Beach. So should be interesting to see how that plays out. But anyway,
Yeah, that's
fun
a bucket
stuff.
list for me. It's the French Laundry. I've never been. I would love to go. That is a bucket list for sure. Amazing.
So I was lucky enough he's on the board of CIA.
Mhm.
So he really took care of me. Since it was Dina's birthday, they have a Schramsberg bottle that's made just for them. It's their own sparkling wine. And he wasn't there, but they brought one to the table and gave us one.
Wow.
And then we looked at the bottle. It was etched. It was actually etched. Happy 60th birthday, Dina.
Wow. What
On the
class. What class and attention to detail. That is so. So did you drink the bottle or what'd you do?
Yeah, we had it with dinner.
Yeah, I was like, hopefully you brought the bottle home.
We have the bottle on the shelf still. It's a memory.
That's incredible. This has been such a special time to share with you. I know that our listeners are going to leave this conversation so inspired, and at very least, they're going to pop open some great wine and start Googling your restaurant and visiting and turn on some Led Zeppelin for sure.
Great.
I have no doubt. No doubt. But with that said, on behalf of Eric and I just want to thank you so much for coming on Served Up. I know that you're a very busy gentleman, so just to spend this time with us was incredibly special. And I want to wish you just some great health and a lot of peace. And cheers to you.
And I look forward to seeing you too when you're down here.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.